Hello friends, welcome back to another video. So in this video we are going to take a look at how to secure your ELK stack setup. So in the previous video I showed you how you can install ELK stack and Wazuh as a SIEM and set it up on your cloud server. So in this video we are going to take a look at on how we can set up HTTPS certificates on our cloud server, and how can we set up authentication on our Elasticsearch, and how to set up authentication on our Kibana interface, so that we can only the authenticated and authorized person can view your Elasticsearch data and view your SIEM logs from all your agents. So let's get started. So in this for this process, what we are going to do is we are going to use XPath for setting up all the uh, HTTPS certificates and authentication protocols. So the documentation is on Wazuh documentation, and I will link this down in the description. So there are a few things that you need to first know about. So the first thing that we need to know is, when generating certificates and creating all the CS certificates for your server, what you need to take a look at is, do you have a distributed setup for all your instances? Like, do you have a separate server for Elasticsearch, a separate server for Kibana, and a separate server for Wazuh Manager? Or do you have all these three things set up on a single machine? So if you have all these things on a single machine, you need to uh, specify a single IP over here for that machine. And if that is not the case, then you need to specify all the different IPs that are related to that service. So in this case, we are running all those services on our local machine, on a single server. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a file, name instances.yml. So we are going to create it in user share Elasticsearch and instances.yml, and hit enter. And over here, just copy this content from the config style from here and just paste it over here, and just replace the IP with the IP of your server. So in this case, this is the IP of my server, so I'm going to paste that in that config. So just copy the IP, go back to your config and remove the testing IP and replace it with your own server IP. So in this case, this is my IP, but if you are running it locally, you will have a different IP, and if you are running it on a cloud, then you will have a different IP altogether. So just Control X and save the config. After that, what we need to do is we need to generate the certificates for these instances. So just copy this command and paste it over here, and now it is going to generate all the certificates and then zip those certificates in a zip file. So just cd into user share Elasticsearch, and over here we need to unzip these certificates and paste those certificates in their respective directory. So for that, just unzip. I don't have installed unzip over here, so just apt install unzip and hit enter, and it will install unzip on your system. And after that, unzip certs.zip and hit enter, and it is going to extract all those certificate files that we need to uh, paste in their respective directories. So just tell us over here to see all the folders and files are over here. So you can see the CA folder, Elasticsearch folder, Kibana, and Wazuh Manager. So we are going to copy all these certificates in their respective directories. So let's get started. So just make directory -etc Elasticsearch and over here certs and /ca -b and hit enter, and we need to copy ca dash ca dot search into etc Elasticsearch certs and ca and hit enter. After that we need to copy Elasticsearch certificate, so Elasticsearch dot search, and we need to paste it in -etc Elasticsearch and /certs and hit enter. Now we need to copy the key also, Elasticsearch dot key, and then paste to same directory Elasticsearch and certs and hit enter. Now we need to change some permission for those certificates. So what we need to do is change ownership -r Elasticsearch -etc Elasticsearch and certs and hit enter. And again we need to change the permission now to chmod -r recursive /0 -etc Elasticsearch and certs and hit enter. After that we need to edit the YML file of Elasticsearch. So what you need to do is nano -etc Elasticsearch and Elasticsearch.yml and hit enter. And over here we are going to change a few things. So scroll down and there will be a section where all the XPath settings will be, and we are going to uncomment all those settings and then change those settings according to our needs. So I guess I changed the default config of Elasticsearch, so we need to copy it from here and just copy this section and paste it down. After that just verify that all the settings are changed accordingly and save the file. Okay, so just save the file and hit enter. After that you need to restart the Elasticsearch service. So systemctl restart Elasticsearch and hit enter, and just wait for the service to restart. And as the service restarts, what you need to do is just to make sure that all the services are running correctly, just run status check so that if there are any errors we can fix them over here. So it shows that Elasticsearch service is running. So let's check it if our certificate works. HTTPS and IP of our server, and this is this. Just paste the IP and port is 9200 and hit enter. Just give it a second. Meanwhile we can run curl over here to verify. So HTTPS and just to ignore the certificates -k or ignoring the certificate because it is self-signed certificate. Localhost 9200 and hit enter. Okay, now it's working over here, and let's see if it works on the server. Okay, so it's not working in the browser, so just see if Elasticsearch is open for public access. So type netstack dash entry and L entry, and just see if Elasticsearch is allowed to be accessed publicly. So it seems that currently Elasticsearch is not allowed to be accessed publicly. So for that, what we need to do is we need to change a little config if you want to verify that on you, but it is not recommended to open up your services for public access. But just to show you how you can do that, what you need to do is again go back to your config, and over here just scroll down, and there will be a option for host URL, and like that, yes, the network.host. And what you need to do is you need to change it to 0.0.0.0 like this, 0.0.0.0, and save the file and hit enter. Now just restart your service, system ctl, restart Elasticsearch and hit enter, and wait for the service to restart. And just after the service restarts, do check the status for that service if it has generated any errors in doing so. So just status Elasticsearch and hit enter, and it seems to be running. And just to verify on the local system if Elasticsearch is up, just run curl to see the output. So it means that Elasticsearch is running, and just reload the page, and this should give us an output. So as you can see that because the certificate is a self-signed certificate, so it is giving us an error that the certificate is a self-signed certificate. Are you sure you want to proceed? So just proceed to the server, and over here you can see that our Elasticsearch instance is up and running. So what we need to do is after that is we need to change a few settings in Filebeat and in Kibana and in Wazuh Manager so that they all communicate over HTTPS and use the certificates that we generated just now. So let's get into it. So just the same things that as before, just we need to make a directory in etc Filebeat, and just name the directory certs, and then create another directory ca and -p to create that, and hit enter. Now just copy ca dot cert to just cp ca ca dot cert, and copy that to etc Filebeat and certs -ca and hit enter. After that, copy Wazuh Manager because Filebeat will be communicating with Wazuh Manager in order to collect all the logs. So we need to give Filebeat the certificates for Wazuh Manager also. So just hit enter, and after that just copy the key for Wazuh Manager, Wazuh Manager dot key, and just paste it in Filebeat certs and hit enter. And now you have copied all the certificates into the directory. Now we just need to change the permission for the certificates. csmod 70 -r for recursive, so all the files in that directory get the permission change, and search and hit enter. And just we need to edit the config for the Elasticsearch. So what you need to do is the Filebeat config. So just need to do nano etc filebeat .yml and hit enter. And after that we need to specify some things over here. Just copy this config, just copy it and paste it over here, and for that just comment this line out, because this line was communicating with Elasticsearch over HTTP, and in our case we have just set up SSL certificates on our Elasticsearch, so that is not going to work. And over here, if you have enabled public IP and the IP public access to the Elasticsearch instance, what you need to do is you need to put in your public IP over here. So in my case, I am going to put in my public IP from a server and just save the file and hit enter. And the thing that you need to make sure is when you are changing the configs and changing the IPs of Elasticsearch instance, what you need to do is you need to if you are going to be setting up in the Elasticsearch service on different server, you need to specify that IP over here in the config for generating the certificate, and then you need to use that IP in your other configs. But if you are using if all the instances of these services are running on the same server, and you have mentioned the IP address of your public IP address of your server, then you also need to change the IP address that of your server in all the configs, so that the certificates can communicate correctly with each other. If you specified the IP over here and you are using localhost in the config, then there will be some conflict in the certificate host, because certificate was generated for a public IP, and then you are specifying the host that going to use that certificate is going to be a local host, and it creates a little bit of confusion. So just keep that in mind, and everything will be fine after that. So just restart your just after making the changes, just run Filebeat test and output to see if the configuration is correct. And if the configuration is correct, you will see this error, this message. And just to show you what I meant by my previous what I previously said, like, just let me comment this out and I will uncomment this, and I am not going to be replacing the IP over here, as though I generated the certificate for my public IP. So just save it, and I'm changing keeping it a local host. And now if I run file output, it is going to give us an error that the host that the certificate was generated for does not match the local host that is specified in the config. So make sure that the IP that you use in the instances.yml file is the IP that you specify later on in the config files also. So I'm going to uncomment the correct line and save the file again. And after that, just to see that everything is working, just run the Filebeat desktop command to see everything is up and running. After that, just clear it and restart your Filebeat service, systemctl, restart, and Filebeat. And hit enter. And now the next step is we need to specify the certificates for Kibana. So just to do that, what you need to do is make directory -etc Kibana certs and also a CA, so that P and hit enter, and we need to copy ca dot cert into etc Kibana certs and CA and hit enter, and after that cp Kibana dot search, and we need to copy that to etc Kibana certs and hit enter, then cp Kibana dot key and paste it in the same directory, and just change the ownership ch on -r Kibana etc Kibana and certs and hit enter. Then we need to change the permissions, so the same thing, 770 adc Kibana certs and hit enter, and the permission is now changed. And now we need to it is the Kibana config file, so just do nano -etc Kibana and kibana.yml and hit enter. And after that, just scroll down at the very end, or there will be an XPath configuration over here, so you can just simply uncomment that. So I'm going to do that over here. Just uncomment server.ssl enable to true, and after that we need to specify the path to the certificate. So for that, uncomment this line, and after that just specify the path where the certificate is stored. So just do -etc -kibana -certs -kibana .crt, and over here we need to specify the key for the certificate, so it is also in the same directory. So just do -etc -kibana -certs -kibana.key and uncomment this line also. And once this is done, we need to change the config for Elasticsearch. So for that, just scroll down and you will see Elasticsearch.certificate and Elasticsearch.ssl.key, and we need to specify the key and certificate for these two services also. And for the path to those files is -etc -elastic. So the path to that is etc Elasticsearch -elasticsearch.key, and then same thing over here. I'm just going to copy and paste this part. Just let me copy this one. uncomment these lines. So my bad. So over here we need to specify the certificates that we will be using in order to communicate with Elasticsearch. So we are going to using the Kibana certificate because Kibana will be making the request to Elasticsearch for us. So sorry for that. And after that we just need to change another thing of Elasticsearch host, and that line should be down over here or on, or it should be up. Yes, over here. So we need to change this too, and just keep in mind to specify the public IP, not the local host. Just copy the IP and paste it over here, and I'm going to make it HTTPS and just Control X, Y, and save, and just restart Kibana. Systemctl restart Kibana.service, and now it is going to restart. And mostly what happens is when we set up the certificates and restart Kibana, there might be some errors initially that you need to solve within Kibana. So just to see if there are any errors, just type status to see if Kibana service is working and if everything is running as it should be. So over here we can see that there are some logs over here which contain errors and some warnings. So let's see if everything works as it should. And for that, just go ahead and open up your browser and copy the Kibana URL, and I'm opening it in Safari because in the recent updates what Google Chrome has done is you cannot uh, visit newly self-signed certificate URLs, and it automatically blocks those URLs, so you cannot access them. And in Safari what you can do is you can just add an exception and visit the website. So I'm going to enter my password and hit enter, and now it is going to load the Kibana interface. That means that everything that we did for setting up the certificates on our ELK stack has worked, and all the communication is happening, and we are able to get all the data from Elasticsearch into Kibana, and Filebeat is also able to gather all the logs from our Wazuh manager and then pass those logs into Elasticsearch. So that's it for this video, and in the part 2 we are going to take a look at on how you can set up authentication on these services. As you can see right now, we don't need any kind of password to access these services, and they are open for anybody to access that knows the IP. So in the next video we are going to take a look at how we can set up authentication using XPath and configure all the things with that, and then we will move further on with how we can do different stuff within ELK stack and Wazuh. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, do comment down below, and do press the bell icon to stay up to date with our latest videos. And thanks for watching.